Have you ever had something in your life, something ordinary, end suddenly, and you didn't expect it to hit you the way it did? That happened to me this past week when my Jeep was wrecked in an accident. And how it felt surprised me more than I expected. And no, this isn't a dramatic story, but it did teach me something about myself I wasn't exactly ready to learn. Hey, everybody, it's Rachel. Welcome back to the channel. If we haven't met, I like to talk about a little philosophy, resilience, and trying to stay grounded while life does whatever it feels like doing. And for anyone new here, I drive a Jeep Wrangler, a Jeep that I absolutely love, that I take off-road when I can, and that can usually muscle through just about anything. But this week, it hit something it's probably not coming back from. Recently, I was driving down the road when a young girl turned directly in front of me. There was absolutely nothing I could do to avoid it. Thankfully, though, everyone walked away, and that is the part that really matters. At first glance, the Jeep didn't actually look too bad. She is a tank. The steel bumper did what it was supposed to do. It took the brunt and barely flinched. The Jeep actually handled the whole thing better than I did, of course. Although, to be fair, I was actually kind of proud of myself, and honestly, a little shocked at how calm I stayed. Turns out meditation, grounding, and a lot of philosophy really do help when life decides to test you. So the Jeep was towed to a shop, and after a couple of days, I got an update. Yeah, the airbags had deployed. Obviously, I knew that. But the frame was bent too, and that is never a good thing. She took more of a beating than it looked like at first, which I probably should have realized. So yeah, I'm actually really sad about this. And I know that sounds ridiculous. It's a vehicle, a material thing. It shouldn't matter that much. But this really isn't about the Jeep. Now, I will say this up front because I know how this goes. Some people are going to hear this, roll their eyes, and think that I'm being dramatic. That's okay. This isn't going to land for everyone. But if you've lived long enough to recognize a quiet turning point when you see one, you'll probably understand where I'm going with this. If you've been here for a while, you know that I bought my Jeep after my first cancer diagnosis. Not as some poetic midlife crisis, though honestly, if there was ever a time for one, that would have been it. But I bought it because I'd wanted one since I was old enough to understand what a Jeep was. And I just never bit the bullet because it felt impractical. But after a year of health chaos, I just thought, why not now? What have I been waiting for? Life is effing short. Here's the thing. When you finally do something for yourself, something bold, impractical, joyful, whatever, you start to notice how long you've been quietly playing it safe. Not intentionally, not dramatically, just gradually. I don't actually think this feeling suddenly starts in midlife either. I think that we're shaped this way our whole lives, adapting, adjusting, doing what needs to be done. But as we get older, something subtle starts to shift. Maybe our kids grow up and need us less, or our roles change. The world doesn't lean on us the same way. And without anyone saying it out loud, you can start to feel like you're fading into the background. Not unimportant, just less central. And without noticing, you start editing yourself down. Not enough to see in real time, but enough that one day you look up and think, when did I get smaller? The Jeep was my rebellion against that. That Jeep reminded me that I still have a bit of a badass streak, if I do say so myself. Not in a loud way, not in a confrontational way, in a grounded way. It gave me a quiet confidence boost, the kind that makes you trust yourself more, over-explain less, and stop putting up with things that don't actually deserve your energy. Not because you're angry, but because you're clearer. That Jeep taught me things I didn't expect an object to teach. It pulled me into friendships I wouldn't have found otherwise. People who showed up for a stranger without caring what my politics were or where I came from. It taught me how to navigate terrain I had no business navigating at first, both literal and otherwise. It taught me that I could be a beginner again and survive the experience, that I could make decisions under pressure, that I could trust myself when things weren't smooth or predictable. It taught me that I had more guts than I ever gave myself credit for. That confidence is a big part of why I started this channel, why I stopped waiting to be fully ready, why I decided to speak my mind and see what happened. I'm not sharing this part because my story is special, but because the pattern is familiar. Because most of us have some version of this, a moment, a thing, a season that quietly changed how we see ourselves. For most people, it's not a vehicle at all. It's usually something quieter, a role, a routine, a place, a season of life that made you feel capable again. Something ordinary that helped you reconnect with who you are without making a big announcement about it. And when those things change or end, it's not that you fall apart, it's that you notice, because meaning leaves a mark. People sometimes feel embarrassed when they get attached to objects. We're taught it's silly or dramatic or materialistic. But psychologically, it's not about the object. We attach meaning to who we were while something was part of our life. A guitar that helped you through a hard year. A kitchen table where everything happened. A trail where you finally felt strong again. And when those things leave, the meaning doesn't disappear with them. That is the part we forget. Letting go of the thing doesn't mean letting go of what it gave you. The lesson stays. The confidence stays. The version of you that emerged stays. And this is where philosophy has helped me the last several years, because wisdom traditions have been wrestling with this exact question for centuries. How do you hold on to meaning without clinging? How do you let chapters end without losing yourself? The Stoics would say that moments like this aren't punishments, they're reminders. Everything is temporary. Meaning isn't diminished by impermanence, it's shaped by it. Taoism puts it another way. The path is made by walking. You don't need the full map, you just need the next step. Buddhism echoes the same truth. Impermanence isn't meant to make us sad, it's meant to wake us up. And Alan Watts said something that fits this perfectly. The meaning of life is just to be alive. Not to cling, not to control, just to participate. All of that sounds really wise in theory, and then life happens, and suddenly you're not contemplating impermanence, you're standing in it. Now, I don't even know yet if the Jeep is actually totaled. I won't know that for several more days. But the accident alone was enough to show me what that chapter of my life had already given me. Sometimes it takes losing something, or the threat of losing something, to realize what you've already taken with you. So when I found out the frame was bent and she might be totaled, it wasn't devastation, it wasn't falling apart. It was that quiet recognition of, damn, this chapter might be ending, and I don't want it to. I want my Jeep. But life is all about change, whether we want it or not. I'll get another Jeep. I already know that. But it won't be this one. The one that carried me through healing, confidence, rediscovery, and a few decisions that absolutely raised my insurance company's blood pressure. And that's okay. New chapters don't erase old ones. They build on them. I'm not starting over. I'm starting from where she left me. And just to be clear, I am not comparing this to the kinds of losses so many people carry. I am talking about something quieter than that. The way ordinary things can hold meaning and what it feels like when they're gone. So if you've had something in your life, big or small, that mattered more than people expected or thought it should, I hope you let that be okay. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to explain it perfectly. You don't need to minimize it. Sometimes ordinary things teach us extraordinary things about who we are. And when those chapters shift, it's okay to feel it. It just means you were paying attention. Thanks for being here today. And if you're in your own season of transition or change, please take care of you. I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.